CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS2 News at 5 p.m.
An arrest in a possible hate crime outside a local synagogue. Police say a man tried to run over two people in a crosswalk. The disturbing scene happened moments after the two victims left the house of worship.
CBS 2's Dave Lopez is live at the Fairfax District, has the latest for us. Dave?
Well, Jeff, the LAPD believes strongly that there's enough here for a hate crime. That'll be up to the DA. It happened in the synagogue right behind me, and the events that have happened are so serious and so heinous that the FBI has been brought in to aid in this investigation.
Just 4 weeks after the terrible attacks in Pittsburgh, we see this action outside a synagogue here in Los Angeles.
At the corner of Oakwood and La Brea, to be specific, on Friday night.
Beeping and screaming, effing Jew, effing Jew, effing Jew.
He didn't want to give his name or show his face, but the LAPD says he is definitely a victim of a hate crime caused by the man they say was driving this car, caught on security camera.
Let me be clear. We have no information that has this actions by this individual to be part of a larger plot. We believe at this point that this is a lone individual.
According to police, after the racial slurs, he backed up his car, made a U-turn, and police say then tried to purposely run over two men who were leaving the synagogue. He then continued to speed down Oakwood, tried to cross Highland where he crashed into another car, spun out of control, and the man you see getting out of that car has been identified as Mohammed Abdi. Police say he's a Somali national, a U.S. citizen, who, according to sources, has been in the Los Angeles area for less than 2 weeks. And on the dashboard of Abdi's car, a copy of the Quran.
Our housekeeper went to offer him some water. He said, I'd rather have a beer. And he was just completely inappropriate.
This video was taken from Saul Newman's home. It shows Abdi wandering around, making no attempt to flee the scene. About 5 minutes after the crash, people from the synagogue come racing to the scene. Police had now arrived, and they told officers what had happened at the synagogue. That's when officers questioned Abdi and then handcuffed him, took him into custody, and he's now booked for assault with a deadly weapon, his car, and a hate crime.
He was laughing the entire time. He was actually dancing. You can clearly see in his face that he just wanted to do something.
At today's news conference, it was made clear, because the intended targets were aware of their surroundings and never took their eyes off the driver of that car, that's what saved them. And the chief added this.
Hate in America is on the rise. That has to change.
So again, it will be up to the district attorney whether or not that hate crime will stick. All the evidence, according to the LAPD, seems to be there. But a lot of questions remain. They said very little about this suspect, only his name, his age. They didn't tell us where he was from, why he came to Los Angeles, exactly how long he's been here, who he stayed here. Was this a plan? Was this something that happened on the spur of the moment? What about his social media accounts? None of those questions were answered. All of that's being investigated. The FBI and the LAPD. And people who go to this synagogue are on high alert. They're on the watch. Reporting live from the Fairfax District, I'm Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Dave. Now, rocks thrown, tear gas launched, dozens of arrests. The chaos at the U.S. Mexico border intensifies as the president stands firm on his vow not to let anyone in unless they enter legally. CBS 2's Michelle Gili is live at the border crossing in San Ysidro, where agents and soldiers are keeping a close eye on the other side. Michelle?
That's right, Pat. Marines in military choppers are watching from the air this border wall that is behind me here. Agents are on foot and they're cruising around the San Ysidro point of entry on ATVs. Border Patrol agents kept a close eye this afternoon on the U.S. side of the wall separating San Ysidro from Tijuana. People coming across the border described the situation in Mexico as calm after Sunday's confrontation, where Customs and Border Protection officials say hundreds of migrants rushed across into California.
I feel bad for all of these people. Instead of making their lives impossible, let's make their lives possible.
U.S. authorities fired tear gas Sunday to stop a crowd of about 1,000 Central American migrants at the border, who officials say became violent. Mexican police arrested 39 people. The CBP commissioner told reporters that 69 migrants were arrested on the California side of the border.
To be completely frank, there were numerous people that actually made it across the border. We're in the process of building the new border wall here, but we don't have it completed. There were some sections that had the dilapidated border wall that was made out of scrap metal the military gave us. The group breached a couple sections of that, actually tore down one small section, started to rush across, and that's another time that they started assaulting our agents.
The border was closed for several hours after the chaos. President Donald Trump defended the enforcement tactics.
They're not, as you know, they're not. They had to use because they were being rushed by some very tough people, and they used tear gas. And here's the bottom line. Nobody's coming into our country unless they come in legally.
Scott Ryan, an American living in Mexico, took these pictures of the migrant camp in Tijuana today. People walking into the U.S. say the process was smooth.
Like I said, there's kind of a calm tension and anticipation and anxiety to me that they're waiting for anything to happen.
Late today, the Department of Defense announced that an additional 300 troops will move from Texas and Arizona here to where I'm standing at the San Ysidro border crossing. That's the latest live from the border wall near San Diego. I'm Michelle Geely. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Now, more breaking news. Special counsel Robert Mueller is accusing former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort of lying to federal investigators in the Russia probe. Now, that would be a breach of his plea agreement. In a new court filing, prosecutors say Manafort agreed to truthfully cooperate with the investigation, but then lied about a variety of things. They are now asking a federal judge to set a date to sentence him. Manafort denies lying. He remains jailed while awaiting sentencing.
Oh, now about that long, enjoyable holiday weekend. Look at it. Turns into a nightmare for a lot of travelers. A snowstorm in the Midwest has grounded hundreds of flights. You are looking live, as you have in the past at LAX. Make your own comparison. I would say by just about anyone. That is a very packed airport.
That's a mess.
Yeah, it is. Travelers now have to figure out how they get from here to home.
And that was one of the worst ways possible right now, I guess,
Pretty much,
to
yeah.
fly right now. But most of the travelers stuck in the mess are trying to head to or get back from the east. That's the problem. CBS2's Cruz is here now with a look at how it's affecting passengers here.
Yeah, it's been very nasty for passengers, to say the least. LAX officials tell us over 30 flights have been delayed or canceled, with many of the problems on flights to or from Chicago. 13 flights heading to Chicago, Boston, and Portland, Oregon are delayed. 15 flights arriving from Chicago and San Jose are also delayed. So far, 4 flights coming from Chicago and San Francisco are canceled.
One of the busiest travel days of the year was short, lots of travel. Winter weather turning the return from Thanksgiving into chaos.
Crazy backed up lines, people insane, people fighting to get in line, and everybody miserable. And the flight attendants and the ticket agents, bless their heart, they're trying, but they're miserable too.
At one point, more than 10 million people across the Midwest under blizzard warnings. On Sunday, more than 1,500 flights were canceled, with delays to more than 5,000. The vast majority in Kansas City and Chicago.
I want to call on everybody to be extremely neighborly, to check on anybody who is physically impaired in any way, or anybody that's obviously facing their own health challenges at this moment.
Chicago's O'Hare International Airport alone saw more than 800 cancellations Monday, with delays averaging close to an hour. But the problems weren't just limited to air travel. In Kansas, the governor declared a state of emergency, saying, "We strongly recommend that you postpone travel plans if possible."
Roadways are blocked, traffic jams, jackknife semis, things like that. I'm telling you now, today is a day of staying home and being safe.
Elsewhere in the Midwest, some places reported more than a foot of snow, with wind gusts in the Central Plains clocking as high as 50 to a hurricane force 75 miles per hour. Travel conditions are expected to improve as the system moves out of the region, but now it heads to a slightly warmer northeast in the form of wind and rain.
In the Northeast, more than 18 million people are under winter weather advisories and warnings. About 24 million people are under flood or flash flood watches, including people in New York City and Philadelphia. Pat, back to you.
All right, thank you, Crystal. Well, there's snow and ice out east. Rain headed our way. Amber Lee is here with the first look at our forecast. Amber?
Hi, Pat. Hi, Jeff. We had such a beautiful afternoon here in the Southland, but take a look at that upper level as we saw earlier. Whew, yeah, a lot of red lights. Here, I want to show you our current airport delays, especially if you're flying out east, and that's where that system is headed out toward right now. You can see it bringing in a lot more of that wet weather over to the New England area. Chicago right now has delays, LaGuardia and also JFK and Newark all with delays. So double check with your airline before you head out the door. Otherwise, if you're staying put, we are enjoying the nice warm conditions. And here's a live look with our sun going down. 71 right now for Long Beach. The breezes are starting to pick up, coming in from the west-northwest at about 12 miles per hour. This is what it feels like still across the Southland. We're looking at a mix of upper 60s and low 70s. So we still have a lot of the comfortable conditions because we had those weak offshore winds earlier this afternoon. High pressure still dominating. But yes, we are waiting not only for rain, but we have a second chance for rain as well. I will break it all down for you coming up. Back to you.
Amber, thanks very much. All right, the flames are out. And now that means it's back to school for thousands of students affected by the Woolsey fire. Let's go to White Oak Elementary School in Westlake Village this morning. Students there and throughout the district, for that matter, have been out since classes were suspended 3 weeks ago. Meantime, workers were busy cleaning up the campuses. They were using air scrubbers, deodorizers. They also replaced the filters and serviced all the heating and air conditioning units. Think of all the smoke that was in there. Pepperdine University and CSU Channel Islands also reopened today. But while the schools reopen, there is a road closure to tell you about. This is in Malibu. It's because of electrical repairs. A portion of Latigo Canyon Road south of Calicut Road and north of Wilmot Lane will be shut down to all traffic, and that includes pedestrians, by the way, tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Well, we now know the fate of the last mountain lion that was missing in the wake of the Woolsey fire. Today, the National Park Service announced it is unlikely P74 survived. The young male was born last year. His tracking collar hasn't transmitted data in days. P74's home range in the Santa Monica Mountains burned. They believe he was with his mom, who was not radio collared. Wildlife experts say the larger animals can outrun fire, but the winds made the Woolsey fire especially fast. And in Northern California, the nation's deadliest wildfire in a century is finally out. 3 straight days of rain helped fire crews fully contain the Camp Fire, which killed at least 85 people. The fire broke out November 8th in the Sierra Nevada foothills. It destroyed nearly 19,000 structures. Flames burned 153,000 acres, and about 250 people are still missing.
All right, ahead at 5, Mars mission accomplished.
Touchdown confirmed. Insight is on the surface of Mars.
What the can't even say it, I'm so happy. What the successful touchdown means for human exploration of the red planet.
Plus, genetically modified babies. Oh, it is a controversial procedure that may give infants natural immunity to viruses.
But first, a Cyber Monday surge. How Amazon and other retailers are tackling the wave of online shopping orders.